This podcast studio measures 13 feet wide by 8 feet deep, which makes for a total of a whopping 100 square feet roughly. Not only that, this podcast setup is portable. We deconstruct it as needed to create space in this room for other ministry needs. So let us give you a tour of all the lighting, the gear, the camera angles, and the set design. Welcome back to My Church Central in Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, Canada. In a previous video, we showed you this side of the room where we filmed church announcements and promos and talking heads. Today, we're focusing on the opposite side. This room has a bit of a strange shape, so it has been a challenge fitting all of this in here, but that's what Pastor Justin does, okay? He is the mastermind behind all of it, and it's actually his podcast that gets filmed here. He was kind enough to invite me on the show as a guest. If you want to hear me talk about my life in a non-ministry context, something we don't typically explore on this channel, that episode is linked in the description. Let's begin by talking about set design. First, what material is this backdrop made out of?
Yeah, so this is what's called MDF. So it's like a compressed kind of board that is engineered. And then this has been kind of CNC routed in a shop. A friend of ours from the church has a shop that he kind of helped me out with it.
So you didn't take like a jigsaw and go with... Could you have done that?
You could have done that.
Okay. So it was like a machine that you said, yeah, I want to make this shape, and the machine said, I will oblige.
Yeah, I sketched it out first, then he kind of digitally matched what I did, and then it's kind of two layers. The bottom layer is one, and then the top one is connected a second layer on top of it.
Okay. And then you had to paint it?
I did, yeah.
By hand?
Yeah, we did what's called like a lime wash by hand to kind of give it some texture.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but like when you're close up, visually looking at it, you can see it's not completely uniform.
That's right. So it kind of is this like by hand 4-inch brush just to kind of give it some texture.
So then there are these two layers. Yeah. What is the light that is creating that separation?
Yeah, so I kind of had this idea of I wanted to create a bit of a practical light that just created interest in the background. So we built it off, I believe it was a couple inches, enough that I could tape LED tape in behind. And then it would allow me to sort of set the temperature, set the color, the intensity and that kind of stuff.
And then this isn't just aesthetics, there is philosophical meaning as well. When you look at the set, this is where you sit as the host.
Yep.
This is where the guest would sit when you're hosting in person. They have something behind them in the shape of this portal almost that is different from you.
Yes.
So what's that about?
So this for me, it's kind of a symbolic of a door. I didn't want to get too literal on the metaphor, but I like the idea of that the show is all about possibility. So it's if you could change what you believe, you change what's possible. And so it's this idea that what's on the other door of your limiting belief systems, what's on the other side of that. So if you could push past those things. So it's a bit of a metaphor for possibility.
And that's for when you have a guest in person, but you also have this TV mounted where you have the artwork for the show for when you're hosting an in-person guest. But then my understanding is this TV can also work if you had a remote guest.
Yeah. So I've used it kind of both ways. Sometimes I've used it as just a set piece. Sometimes I've actually put our guest on there, so I'm talking to them. Currently, it's mostly used just as a set piece, branding. It helps just kind of reinforce the name of the show.
And where'd you get these chairs from?
Chairs are a pair of them I found on Amazon.
Oh.
And it was actually super affordable. And the same thing with this kind of fluted design furniture.
All Amazon.
Amazon.
Final piece of the set design is this tarp. The carpet in this room is like a darkish navy-ish.
Yeah.
Clearly not at all in sync with the beige look of the set. So how did you solve for the floor?
Yeah, so this is just kind of that gritty, I'm short on money to come up with a full legit carpet. And it kind of worked as a metaphor too. It's like painter's cloth. You throw it down when you're painting a house. Kind of this idea of like, this for me is a bit of a work in progress. And so it's kind of this like wet paint. It serves a practical purpose, which is to get that beige kind of theme, but it is also like practical and it would save me some money and it kind of works. So for now, we're using it.
Great lesson for all church creatives. It's not compromise, it's a philosophical
that's
choice.
Right. Yeah.
Let's move to lighting next. 3 light setup on this set. First thing that interested me when I visited the set for the first time was how, despite this being a very like clean-ish white, off-white design, the light temperature is not 5600 clean white. It's very warm in
Yeah.
here. So what color temperature are we running and why?
Yeah, so some of it's like, this is like experimenting. So I wanted it to feel warmer. So obviously you can adjust your white balance always to do that on your camera, but I wanted it to feel on set when a guest is here. I didn't want it to feel cold. I wanted it to feel warm. So I purposely got these lights, I think it was on Black Friday.
Nice.
And so I'm using these at 3200 Kelvin. And then I think on camera, we do bump up a bit. We're closer to 3600 Kelvin on camera because it was a little too warm, but it still kind of achieves that effect. So we're running 3200 Kelvin across the board. These are just kind of a unique color on the LED tape, but these 3 lights are matched and they're all the same, just different modifiers.
So there's 3 Amaran 200X S's.
That's right.
And so all 3 lights, but different modifiers.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these ones first.
Yeah.
Because interestingly, guests and hosts are seated here.
Yes.
The light is coming from behind them.
Yeah.
So you're shooting from the camera into the shadow side of the host and guest.
Yep.
What's that about?
So I was kind of going for, what I was aiming for is kind of more of a dramatic, like in cinema, sometimes you'll shoot into the shadows. And that's kind of on purpose to just kind of create a little more intrigue, a little more drama. So I wanted to do a reverse key light. So that would be the idea that this person here is getting hit on this side of their face by that light, and this person over here is getting hit on the inverse side, So, and then this dome, essentially what it's doing is it's filling in the set, and it's also filling in about 50% of the intensity of these.
Right, because you don't want it to be too
I don't want to be
dramatic.
too dramatic. So I'm looking to kind of just fill in that shadow a little bit. So
It is just a conversation. It's not, evil plans.
That's right.
Great.
So it's about a 2-to-1 ratio. So whatever this is, that's halved on this dome.
And the interesting thing about these modifiers is you have the eggshell modifier on top of the softbox.
Yeah.
And what that does is it keeps the light within a certain range. It's like, hey, only shoot it within this beam.
Yeah.
Whereas the light dome is kind of just like, send light everywhere.
That's right.
Got
This
it.
one I'm purposely wanting to direct light this way. It still probably spills a little more than I'd like, but that's okay. And then this one, yeah, you're right. The purpose is as wide as I can because I do want to see more of the set. I probably still would add a couple more up into these corners. It can be a bit dark, but we're shooting fairly low, so it doesn't really matter too much on frame.
Yeah, and it's a good point. Like, you set something up, maybe someone's watching this video and they're like, what a great setup. The reality is it's always unfinished for us as the creators.
Yeah.
There's always more we could do, things we would change if we could.
Yeah. These lights specifically, I initially thought would sit a bit higher, but again, it's just kind of tricky. So having that little extra space to kind of mount to the back on some clamps, we're trying to just get it up enough that it's out of frame. But that's kind of the nice thing of this room is we have ceiling space to work with. So
And we're not going to include that. This room sucks. It's terrible. There's nothing good about it. Last thing to discuss is the cameras, the lenses, and the mic equipment. We'll start here with these mics. These are the Shure SM7Bs.
Yep. SM7Bs.
Same thing we use on our podcast. This is the Elgato low profile arm. I also use this in my home office.
That's great.
And then you're recording into a Sound Devices recorder over there.
Yep. There's like an old 702 one that, yep. So that one.
Indestructible.
It's still going. So we use that still for recording audio.
3 different camera angles.
Yes.
And different camera bodies as well.
Yeah, so again, sometimes you reach the end of your vision and your budget meets that vision.
Of course.
So for me, I have 2 Sonys that I'm using, A7 IVs with 2 24-70 lenses. So that's what I'm using on those 2.
And that's one for each of the, like one for host, one for guest?
Yep. And that's a tight shot. So that's kind of closer to 70 millimeter. I'm zoomed in for those. And then I have a Blackmagic 4K with a Canon 24-70 on there that's just kind of wide open 24 millimeter. It's in the furthest part of this studio, and that gets me the full wide of this set. So, yeah.
Similar setup in our podcast where we have 3 cameras. They're all Sonys, but there's 2 FX30s and then 1 Sony A7S III. And even using all Sonys and all Sony lenses, we have some issues with color balancing. We were filming a podcast today, and Tristan was like, here, use this gray card. And we were touching everything up in post.
Yeah.
And even same cameras,
Interesting.
same lenses.
Yeah.
Even the two FX30s didn't match perfectly.
Well, and I found even the other day I shot through the Elgato prompter, and that even messed my colors up.
Yes.
Big time. And I was like having to fight, and it's the two exact same cameras, so, you know, we're all out here just trying.
If you want to see my episode with Justin on his podcast, Help Me See, it's linked in the description. If you want to see our YouTube video where we tackle the other side of this studio and all of the different backdrops that we use for church announcements and talking heads and promos, that is linked in the description as well. I'm back with Justin at the church. We're gonna do a tour. Can't try too hard because these are from Amazon.
Okay, you ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. I think I win.
What? No, we have it on camera. Today, we're discussing what's happening on the other side. Oh man, wait, are we talking about how many rotations?
Yeah, mine rotated further.
No. It's who's rotating the longest.
I thought it was the furthest rotation.
No. See, that's very shallow.
Okay,
Mine was
time.
still moving.
You gotta start it straight though.
You started like this. I was
on the
copying
angle.
you. Okay, sorry, just slow down. Let me read it once. Scroll down. I've read all this.
I'm gonna count the rotations, and okay, you ready?
No. We're not counting rotations.
It's the longest spin.
Right, because then we can look and say who's still spinning.
Okay.
That's easy.
All right.
Objective.
Gosh.
I read all this.
Ta-da! 3, 2, 1. Oh.
Some of us, they're born with it. Read all this. Great, pause that.